Must have, should have, nice to have.
Gear up and get outside.
When it comes to backpacking trips, there are a few items that you absolutely must have, like a backpack, a shelter, a sleep system, food, a water filter system, prescription drugs, clothing for the elements, and so on. Then there are a lot of things that you should have, especially if you're going to be a good Boy Scout. Those are things like emergency gear, a first aid kit, ways to start a fire, a navigation system, a satellite communication device, a bear bag like an Ursack or a bear container if it's required where you're going. Then there's the stuff that's nice to have, but it's not necessary. This is often where we let a lot of bloat get into our packs in the good name of letting the good times roll. The latter is what I want to talk about. These are some luxury items and some convenience items. Stuff you don't necessarily need and a lot of people are going to leave behind, but I've found that for the most part, these are worth their weight on the trail. The first thing is an Ultralight Day Pack. Now this little pack is from a brand new cottage company called Acromoda. In fact, this product is just now launching this week on Kickstarter. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I'll try to find a link and put it below. This little pack is made of high-end materials. It's very lightweight and it would be a great fanny pack even for you guys that like to run long distances. Has a place to tie a jacket. It's got a waterproof pouch for your valuables, some snacks, and it's got a water bottle holder. Now this kind of an ultralight fanny pack or an ultralight day pack on a backpacking trip multi-day is not entirely necessary, but if you know you're gonna set up a base camp and do a lot of jaunts out and back, you're really gonna appreciate this on those day trips. Now an inexpensive alternative is something like this. This is a packable 10-liter pack from 4Class, which is a Decathlon brand. I talk about these guys a lot because that's probably my favorite outdoor store. It weighs almost nothing, and what's great about it is it doubles as a packing cube. I right now have all of my clothes in this, and this goes inside of my backpack, so even if I don't go on a day trip, it still serves a purpose, and it weighs almost nothing, and it's super cheap. So consider a day pack, especially if you're gonna be doing a base camp, and keep in mind that it can double as a packing cube. When it comes to your shelter, there's a lot of different kinds of systems out there, from tents that are freestanding to tarps. This is a homemade ground sheet. I made this out of Tyvek house wrap for super cheap. It costs almost nothing, it weighs almost nothing. You can buy specialty footprints for your tent by model a lot of the times. Those can be pretty spendy. A lot of people go without ground sheets or footprints at all, but I like to bring this along, especially when I know the ground is going to be rocky and I don't want to mess up my tent. Another popular yet unnecessary piece of gear that you can take with you on a backpacking trip is a USB power pump. Now there are a lot of different brands and different styles of these. I know the Flex Tail is quite popular. First of all, it'll save you a lot of breath and a lot of time when you just do this to pump up your sleeping pad and even your pillow if it's inflatable. But what's really nice is most of them even double as a battery bank. So you can charge your phone or your navigation device if you need to as well. Some of them have lights built in. They can be multifunctional. They do weigh a bit, but not a ton. And it's just a nice to have item on the trail. Now, lots has been said about pillows on YouTube, and I agree, at least with the guys that say they like them. This is one I really like from Zenbivy. It's really lightweight, it's compact, and it's soft. I take this because I just don't sleep well without a pillow. In fact, I take two. One final nice to have item that I like to take for my sleep system just in case there's a real frigid night is these hand warmers. A little pack, doesn't really weigh anything, they cost hardly anything, but it can really take the edge off a cold night that maybe you're under prepared for. Especially out west, even on a summer day when it's hot in the day, it can get below freezing at night and it can be really cold. So rather than freezing your fingers and toes off, you might just throw some of these in your pack. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not a big supplement guy. I rarely, if ever, take them. I know they can be good, I know they can be bad. But what I do know is when you're backpacking, often you get dehydrated and you need to replenish with electrolytes. So I was looking for something like that I could take on backpacking trips. I got these from Protekt. These are individual serving size that you mix this with 8 ounces of water. It's a liquid in there, it's not a powder. You just dump it in your water bottle and then you drink. That's gonna replenish your electrolytes. You take it up to a couple times a day. They also have these for energy, so those of you that maybe drink a little too much caffeine when you're not on the trail, you might want something like this to supplement when you are on the trail. There are a lot of downsides of having caffeine or too much caffeine when you're hiking. It is a diuretic, but if you need it or you want it, a supplement like this might be nice to have as well. The last thing that I got from Protekt here is for sleep. Now this is something you just kind of put in 8 ounces of water before you go to bed, and it's supposed to help you calm and relax and sleep. Again, this isn't something I normally do, but when I'm backpacking, I do want to sleep well, and then I want to have energy during the day. So I feel like these are a lightweight option that can maybe give me a little boost while I'm out there. Now when it comes to your food and your cooking system, there are a few things I like to bring for redundancy. Now, one is an extra isobutane fuel canister because I use an MSR pocket rocket stove. Now, a lot of people will only bring one and only what they need for the trip, and that's fine. If you do that, make sure you test it before you leave. I often bring two because I like to have backup. It's that Boy Scout in me that just can't not be prepared. So I have had these be faulty in the past, or you unexpectedly run out of gas, or your buddy runs out of gas and so you loan him yours and then you're both out before the trip's over. So it's nice to have an extra bottle of gas in your pack just for a little peace of mind. For similar reasoning, I like to have at least 2 different ways to start a fire or light my stove. This here is a piezo lighter. A lot of stoves have those built in, but I have the basic pocket rocket that does not. So this is kind of my main fire starter. It doesn't require battery or gas or anything, so it should work in all conditions, right? Wrong. So I also carry a lighter, and that way I always have a backup. I even have a little book of matches I carry with me too. One other thing I throw in my cooking kit, which costs almost nothing and weighs about the same, is just a little piece of a sponge. Now this is just a regular old scrubber sponge from the kitchen. I cut it off, so I've got about 1.5 inches there by about 2 inches wide. Weighs nothing. It fits inside my little pots and just makes it easier to do the dishes when I'm done and uses less water to do so. Easy thing to throw in your kit. So this is another freebie or very cheap thing you can pick up when you're at the gas station on your way up or the last time you went through Taco Bell. So I like to grab some extra sauce packets or seasoning packets, whether it's salt or like this tahini stuff that's good on almost everything, some hot sauce, taco sauce. These can really flavor up some of those bland backpacking meals or ramen bombs or whatever you're eating. I keep a little Ziploc bag with a handful of these so that I can spice up any food I want. Speaking of food, bring an extra meal. Whatever you calculate you're gonna need for the trip, add 1 more meal, throw it in there. That's your emergency kit. Should something go wrong, should you be late, should you get hurt, there's any number of reasons you might want an extra meal. I always throw an extra meal, whether it's one of these dehydrated guys or an extra bag of ramen or a couple extra oatmeal packets. Stuff like that you absolutely don't need, and it does add some weight, but it could sure save you in a pinch. In my mind, that's worth it, and you're gonna want that if you are in a pickle. Now this next one really depends on what kind of hiker you are and if you like to take photos or if you're using anything electronic. Battery bank is a fantastic way just to keep your electronics going. If you get one like this with a little solar panel, it might last even longer or be somewhat rechargeable on the trail. The thing about these though is they can be kind of heavy relative to other stuff in your pack, so it really matters if you're going to use it or not. If you're the type that just shuts your phone off for the whole trip and turns it back on when you get back in service to tell your significant other that you're on the way home, then maybe this is a non-issue for you. Next is some camp shoes. Now camp comfort isn't important to everybody. Some people are happy to do some grounding and walk around bare feet. Some people keep their boots or shoes on all day long. I like to have a set of camp shoes. A lot of people just bring some flip-flops or some of those Teva or REI or any number of other camp slippers. These Birkenstock foam guys are really nice. They're super lightweight, but they offer pretty decent support. They don't have a thong between your toes, so it's easy to wear with your socks on still. And they have, I wouldn't say great traction, but a little more than you're gonna get in a basic flip-flop. So very nice to have and don't weigh too much. However, the downside is they don't squish down too easy, and I don't know if the form will always come back if you do. So they're a little bit tricky to pack. You're probably just gonna have to strap them to the outside of your pack. At the end of a long day on the trail, you'll be really happy if you can take those shoes off and put something more comfortable on while you're lounging around camp. The next few unnecessary items I have in mind have to do with your hygiene kit. I like to bring a towel. Now this is just a little chamois-like towel, very inexpensive, very lightweight. Obviously when it gets wet it weighs more, but this comes in handy for drying your dishes, for drying off after you take a dip in the lake, even for drying off your gear like your tent or your pad or anything when it's raining. So I like to have a little towel. There's a lot of different types and a lot of different opinions on them, but just something simple is what I like to throw in there. Now here's something that I only recently discovered, but I wish I would have had this on many a trip before, and that is some anti-chafing ointment. These are single-serve packets of Salty Britches chafing ointment. Pretty inexpensive and super lightweight. Good to have in your first aid kit, your hygiene kit, or just a couple in the top pocket of your pack so that you can pull them out if you really need it while you're on the trail. My thigh gap disappeared quite a while ago, and I think this is really going to save me, especially when it's wet or humid on a trip. Now another nice to have item that has to do with your private business that I only recently got is a poop kit. Now, in the past, all I've had is some toilet paper, and I find a stick or a rock to dig my cat hole. But I recently got this little kit. This is just a basic aluminum trowel from Bogler Co. It's super, super duper light, and it'll save me some time and looking for a stick when I need to dig a little cat hole. I also recently got this Culo Clean Bidet. It just sticks in the top of a water bottle, like a smart bottle or whatever, and then you can clean yourself off that way. Not expensive and gonna save me a lot of toilet paper and a lot of hassle, and it weighs next to nothing. But because I'm not entirely convinced of how I'm gonna do my business yet, I still carry some toilet paper and even a couple of wet wipes. Altogether, my little poop kit here only weighs a few ounces, and I think it'll just make life a little more luxurious. Another item that I think is really nice to have when I'm out backpacking is soap. Now, I've got this powdered soap I keep in this little container here, and this is great for everything. It's environmentally friendly, and I can use it for dishes, my hair, my hands, whatever. In the past, I've only carried these, and now I just keep it in my poop kit, and it's those little leaves, those little sheets, individual servings of soap. You wash your hands with a little bit of water from your water bottle, you rinse it off, and you're done. Some people carry hand sanitizer too. I don't. I prefer this, a little lighter weight and one less liquid thing in my pack that might spill or squirt out. And the final hygienic nice to have item is some body wipes. Now, these are wilderness wipes from Sea to Summit. There are others out there too, but I have a really hard time sleeping if I go to bed grimy. Ideally, I like to jump in a lake or creek and rinse off that way, but if I can't, I at least want to use this to get the grimiest spots that are going to bother me when I'm sleeping. This will come as no surprise to any of you who have ever watched a backpacking video on YouTube, and that is a camp chair. The great debate as to whether or not you should take a seat on a backpacking trip is definitely alive and well on the internet. I am one that likes to sit down and be somewhat comfortable, and there are enough lightweight chairs now, like this one from REI that only weighs 1 pound, that I think are worth taking with you on the trail. Duh. Enough said. Now, something that can either enhance your chair or replace it is a simple foam seat pad. There are many of these available. They're essentially just like those closed cell foam sleeping mats, but you can get a small version that it folds up and fits in your pack easily. They don't weigh hardly anything. This is the cheapest one I know of, again from Decathlon. I think it's $7 or $8. And last summer, this is all I took, and that's fine. It makes it a little easier to sit on a rock or a log, but still you're not leaning back and really lounging. When it's cold, you double these up, and now your ultralight chair is a little bit warmer. And one more justification for bringing that extra canister of fuel is if you want to bring a Thermacell Backpacker mosquito repeller. Now, these little devices work pretty well. They're not going to be a save-all, end-all to mosquitoes, but they certainly will help keep them at bay when you're sitting still at camp at night, cooking your dinner, prepping your food, whatever. You just screw one on your canister and you turn it on, it ignites, and it will heat up this blue pad that emits a mosquito repellent, and it creates this zone of what is supposed to be a mosquito-free area. Especially in those early seasons like in May and June and July, when the mosquitoes are just ravenous in many parts of the US, including out west in those high mountain lakes. This is just one thing that will help you keep them at bay a little bit better. Now, if you're looking to get in touch with your inner self in nature, which frankly many of us are, and you want to record your thoughts and feelings, then bringing a journal along is also a nice thing to do. Now, this is just kind of my regular journal. Honestly, I don't write in it very often, but when I do, it's usually because I'm alone in the woods. A good write in the rain notebook is a good way to go, something a little more resistant to the weather. When you're out in nature and you find solitude and you're feeling all kinds of emotions and peace and gratitude and whatever it is, that is a great time to record your thoughts and feelings, not only for you, but maybe for your family down the line. A lot of people even just like to have a trail journal to record everything from the weather to the trail conditions to the people they met on the trail. A journal is a nice thing to have, but certainly not necessary. And don't forget a pen. Many hikers find themselves surprisingly bored once they get to camp and they set up and they have their dinner, and now there's 3 hours till sundown. What are you gonna do? But just a deck of cards sure can make a more entertaining way to pass the time with your family and friends. Now, along those lines of entertainment, it's bringing a fishing rod, and not just any fishing rod, but a Tenkara rod. This is a rod from Tenkara Rod Co. This is the sawtooth rod. These are super fun and super amazing for backpacking in particular because they are so lightweight. This is all there is to it. There is no reel. It's a telescopic rod, and then you're gonna have a little spool of line and a fly, and that's all you need. I take this, a fly box with some options, and then that line. And it only weighs a handful of ounces, and I can be fishing to my heart's content. Now make sure you get a fishing license for wherever you're gonna be, and follow all the regulations, because a lot of those alpine lakes have special rules. Either you can't fish or barbless hooks or whatever. But getting into fishing, even if you're not a regular fisherman, Tenkara is an awesome way to go. It's a lower barrier to entry. In cost, it's easier to learn than traditional fly fishing, and it's just a really fun thing to have on the trail. Yeah, boy! You can even pop it out at any time along the trail and fish those little creeks. I've pulled some fish out like that, and it's just a hoot. Don't even gotta take your backpack off. This makes Tenkara fishing a lot of fun. The last one is a little gadget that a lot of nerds and geeks will enjoy, and that's just a little thermometer. Now there's the thermometers that have a little digital readout, and that's handy too, but I like this one. As you can see, there is no digital readout. This is just from some random Amazon brand called Govee, and it is Bluetooth, so I can connect it to my phone. The nice thing about it is it doesn't only show me the temperature when I pull it up, but it tracks it. Every couple seconds or every second it's recording a temperature, and you can see that temperature graph. So you'll know what the lows were at night, you'll know what the highs are during the day. You can even just leave it in your pack and just connect with your phone. You don't have to pull it out or find it. There you have it. I think that is 25 pieces of backpacking gear that you don't need, but that you probably want to have. What did I miss? Tell me down in the comments, what's your favorite non-necessary item that you like to take with you on the trail? And if you're trying to cut weight and you're trying to get rid of more stuff, you want to go in the opposite direction of what I'm encouraging here, you ought to check out the best ultralight backpacks video that I did. You can see that here. I'll put links in the description to a lot of these items, but the ones I have aren't necessarily the ones you need. Take from this what you want and leave the rest. Now gear up and get outside.